Speaker, I thank the gentleman for the information he has given us. I have some questions on information, but before getting to the bills that we are going to consider next week, I note the absence of the Homeland Security bill. That continues to, unfortunately, be mired in a controversy, Mr. Speaker, a bill that I would remind our members, Mr. Speaker, and I know the Majority Leader knows this, has been agreed to, essentially. There really is no controversy with respect to the funding of the Homeland Security Department. There's no amendments being offered to change the numbers or anything of that nature. There is, however, the holding hostage, Mr. Speaker, of this bill for the purposes of overturning the President's actions, which, in our view, he was forced to take because of the inaction of this body after over a year of even considering the comprehensive immigration reform bill that the Senate passed by over 60 votes, almost two-thirds of the Senate, Republicans and Democrats voting for that bill. Mr. Speaker, I am very concerned, the American people are concerned, that a bill which is so critically important for the defense of our borders, for the security of our country and the security of our people is languishing, notwithstanding the fact that we have agreement on the underlying bill. There is no disagreement, in my view. And the Homeland Security bill, Mr. Speaker, in my opinion, would pass with over 400 votes if it were brought to this floor, but for the fact that it is being held hostage to force the President to do something that the Senate clearly has indicated they're not going to approve. So, Mr. Speaker, I would ask the Majority Leader to bring to the floor a clean, and by clean I mean the Republican-reported bill, not our bill, but a compromise bill, a Republican-reported bill in December, conferenced, or conference may overstate it because it was the four leaders, Republicans and Democrats, meeting, and they brought out of that meeting to this floor a Homeland Security bill that could pass overwhelmingly. Every day that we delay puts us closer to the February 27th deadline that was set in December for the funding of this bill. Taken out of the omnibus appropriation bill that we passed, put on a short-term leash, putting our Homeland Security at risk. So, Mr. Speaker and Mr. Majority Leader, I would ask you, is there any plan at some point in time to say we're not going to snatch defeat from the jaws of compromise? I tell the leader, and the leader knows, the leader is very astute, understands this body very well, and knows full well that the underlying bill has consensus. If there's anything that is frustrating the American people, it is that when we have something that we agree upon, that we turn it into something that we can't agree on. And I would yield to my friend, Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of telling me what his view is as to how, when we're going to be able to pass a appropriation bill to ensure that the Homeland Security Department can operate in an effective, efficient manner to protect America and Americans. And I yield to my friend.
You debate the opinion, but to deny the American public to have that debate, that is unacceptable, and I will not stand for it. I yield back.
I am glad to hear the Majority Leader will not stand for it. Over a year ago, the United States Senate passed overwhelmingly a immigration reform bill. The reason they are holding hostage, Mr. Speaker, the Department of Homeland Security is because they don't agree. But the Majority Leader has just said, bring it to the floor. Let us vote. Yes. Let us offer amendments. We have asked that the Senate bill on immigration reform, which the House Republicans apparently don't agree with, but which the overwhelming majority of Americans are polling and saying, yes, they agree with. So the majority leader complains about a bill not being brought to the floor. The minimum wage bill is a very, very important bill that the overwhelming majority of Americans support. In 5 states on which it was in the ballot, it was passed. In some red states, and yes, some blue states, mostly red states, by the way. And there is a refusal to bring it to the floor. So, Mr. Speaker, when I hear the majority leader complain about not letting that bill come to the floor, the majority leader knows, and everybody in this body knows, that if that bill should squeak by the Senate, it would be vetoed by the President, and I guarantee the majority leader that veto would be sustained here. And I would remind him the reason the secretaries say bring a clean bill to the floor, your secretaries as well as one of mine on our side of the aisle, the reason they say that is because they know that what I say is absolutely correct. So, Mr. Speaker, I tell the majority leader, who is my friend and whom I have great respect for, that complaining about not bringing bills to the floor we'll all need to look in the mirror. Because if the issue is comprehensive immigration reform and you don't like what the President's doing, bring a bill to the floor.
You did.
Show us what you want to do. Let us vote on it. Send it to the Senate. See what they do, and then, if they pass it, send it to the President. But don't hold hostage the Department of Homeland Security. Don't put Americans at risk. Don't turn a bipartisan consensus agreement into partisan gridlock, which the Americans hate and which puts them at risk.